This video is going to be an explainer video about using an ebook cover as a starter and making the paperback and hardback covers from that one ebook cover. Some of you will be able to create your own ebook cover, and maybe some of you will choose to purchase an ebook cover from Fiverr.com or some other service's website. I make the paperback using the ebook cover, which I always create in high resolution of 300 dpi, and then I use the paperback cover to make the hardback cover. It makes things a lot easier. At the end, I will go into some bonus tips on how to work with a designer on Fiverr so that you can keep your pricing much lower. Custom ebook covers can be purchased from Fiverr.com for as little as $5 to $50 and more. Remember, you get what you pay for. When I self-published my first vampire book, although I designed a nice enough cover, I did pay to have the book cover jazzed up with more of a vampire style, and the artist did a super job. It cost $50. But then when I went back to get the paperback cover to match it and a hardback cover, those prices started at $250 a piece. So I made the book covers using only my ebook cover, and it worked very well. And I have been doing the same thing since then. So this video is about that process, starting with an ebook cover and moving on to make the paperback and then using the paperback to make the hardback cover. I also write in series, book series, and this process turned out to be a good one also in terms of keeping the branding consistent between all the covers in the series. So in the end of this video, I will go into Gimp and show you the process of putting together the hardcover with some tips on using the paperback and making everything fit the template. Now, the Kindle Direct website only gives you a size for the ebook covers. There is no template, but I have made one here and will leave a download link to it below in case you want it. The size of the cover needs to be 1600 pixels by 2560 pixels. Amazon recommends 72 dpi, which is conducive to using on the web. However, I always make and design my ebook covers in 300 dpi, and this is why using them in the paperback and the hardback covers works. If you make covers only using 72 dpi, your ebook picture will look too pixelated when you stretch it. So if you make your ebook cover in 300 dpi, or you have it made by someone on Fiverr, make sure that they make it in 300 dpi. You can always decrease the size of an image with no problems. So that's why it's a good idea to design or purchase in 300 dpi, even if you upload a smaller 72 dpi copy of it later on. In the end of this video tutorial, in the tips section, I will show you how to make a 300 dpi picture into a 72 dpi picture for the web with no problems. An ebook cover is based on one measurement, the 1600 by 2560 pixels. It doesn't matter how long your book is, they all get the same size covers. However, for the paperback and for the hardcover, you will need to know how many pages there are in the book and then go to the KDP calculator, which will prepare a downloadable paperback cover based on the size of your book. The calculator does the math and figures out how big the spine of the book needs to be with the page count. So your manuscript must be finished, and you must know the exact count of the manuscript and what the real page count is. In the next section, I will open my latest book manuscript and show you what I mean by the real page count and how to get the right number. There are different page count numbers because the front matters in a novel or book. The title pages, copyright, etc., are numbered using Roman numerals. Then the book begins again on page 1. Most authors want the new chapter to start on the right-hand side, so the book often skips an even page to put the chapter heading on an odd-numbered page. I'm sure you are getting the picture of how confusing this can be. But if you format the manuscript in Microsoft Word, as I do, then it is easy to find. It's a matter of where to look for the exact page count. With that real page count, then it's time to head off to the KDP calculator, key in the technical information along with the page count, and KDP will then produce a custom template for your book cover. Simply download the template and open the PNG file in Gimp. I will also demonstrate this next. Okay, so this is the manuscript of my latest book, Where is Lucia? All right, and I'm going to show you now how to find the different page numbers. This is the last page in the book, and it says 249 pages. But over here down in the left-hand corner is a page count that's produced by Microsoft Word in the document. And this one is how many pages there really are. So there really are 257 pages in the book. So when I go off to the KDP calculator, this is the number I'm going to use, the 257. And that will determine how big the spine of the book needs to be. Okay, so here I am at the KDP calculator, okay, and you're going to fill in all of these boxes and it's going to create the template. So the binding type is going to be paperback, interior type standard color, paper type white, reading direction left to right, measurement units inches, interior trim size. Now for my paperback, I use 5.06 by 7.81. You use whatever size your paperback will be. And I believe my page count was 257. Then you're going to click on Calculate Dimensions first, and then it will create the customized template for your paperback. And then click on Download Template. And I'm going to put this in my downloads file. All right. And then once you find it in your downloads folder, you're going to right click and choose Extract All. And what that's going to do is it's going to put it in an unzipped folder. All right, which is what it did here. So then I'm going to right click on the PNG file and click on Open with Gimp. And that's going to open it in the Gimp program. Once you bring the paperback template into Gimp, you will bring in the ebook cover and move it into place on the template. Because you have ordered it or created it using 300 DPI, it will work fine. I don't know whether you can see clearly, but I have used guidelines to mark out the areas in pink. These areas should not contain any text or graphics. Designing the cover is not the focus of this particular video, so I am just letting you know that you will design the back cover alongside the front cover here. Later in the video, when I show you how to put together the hardcover, I will go into creating a gradient for the background, which is a good way to marry the front and back covers. As a reminder, for the back cover, you will need to create a title, author name, book description, series name if applicable, and a picture for the bottom left-hand corner. The bottom right-hand corner, the yellow box area, is where the barcode goes on the cover. If you are publishing through KDP and have chosen to allow them to supply a barcode, during the setup, you will just check a box and the barcode will be put on automatically. Here is an example of using a linear gradient to marry the front and back covers. Pick a light and dark color from the ebook background picture. I chose a dark and medium green from the forest picture because I wanted to use a white font to match the font color on the front. Because this is a fifth book in a police procedural series, I simply opened the last paperback and copied the background layer, the gradient layer, into this book. And this created a perfect match between all of the different books. It's a good technique to use to keep the branding consistent in the whole series. So when I demonstrate how to make the hardcover, I will demonstrate more about creating a gradient versus borrowing a gradient. As far as creating the back cover, by using about 4 or 5 tools in Gimp, you can create the entire back cover one layer at a time. In the picture above and to the right, you can see how many layers were involved in creating just the back cover and the spinal areas. Okay, so because this book is the fifth book in a series, I started this book by bringing in the first cover of the first book in the series. I brought in the XCF file. And because of this, I had everything that I needed. The title font and the title color, the author font and the author font color, all of it was there. Now, I also brought in the original Murder in the Sanctuary cover because I wanted to share something that happened on Amazon. After this book was selling for a while, it was flagged. And the reason it was flagged is because of this woman here who is laying down on the ground. There's no blood, mind you. She could be napping for all we know. But apparently this triggered somebody, or I don't know whether it triggered somebody at Amazon or one of the customers complained. But anyway, they wouldn't allow me to have this picture. I tried to explain to them that it was a murder mystery and that, it's just a picture of a woman who was murdered, and they just wouldn't have it, so I had to remove it. So in order to design around it without ruining the other books that had already been finished, what I did was I just pulled the woman's face in and made the cover more about a close-up of the women instead of having a little side picture here that I originally started with. So I thought I would just share that with you as something that did happen. I had another book cover that was also flagged because it was the perfect picture. It was also a murder mystery, but the guy had blood on his face, and although I don't consider it a gruesome picture, it got flagged, so I had to choose something that was, rated G, really. Okay, so let me move on. So this is a snapshot of the completed paperback. And as you can see, this too was built up using one layer at a time. Now, once the cover is completed, I save the XCF file so that I can go in and alter it if I need to. It will also come in handy when it's time to make the next book in the series. Now, I've been using Gimp for several years now, and one big tip that I learned the hard way is that Gimp doesn't work well going from the XCF file straight to a PDF. For some reason, it knocks things out of kilter. So what I do is I save this from a XCF file to a JPG file first. Then I pull in the JPG file and save that to a PDF, and it works perfectly. So I just wanted to mention that in case you start having some problems like I did. It's possible that Gimp, patched this up through the years, but I started to do this, and because it works so well, I just keep doing this way. Okay, I'm in Gimp right now, and we're going to go over how to make the hardback cover using the paperback cover. So the first thing I did was bring in all of the elements that I'll need. I have the front cover, and I'm going to show you right now how to make a solo back cover. So I have my paperback cover right here. Now, I turned off these show guides. When I was done designing the cover, this is what it looks like. You can see all of the guides that kept me in line. It kept me away from the spinal area. I have enough space for the barcode. So before I copy anything, I'm going to turn these off. So I'm going to go to View and then click off Show Guides. In order to make a copy of the back, we're going to use Copy Visible. And the way that works is we're going to take the rectangle tool. I just clicked on it to activate it. And then starting at this corner, I'm going to drag this out around and create a back cover. Now I'm paying particular attention to how much margin space is on the left and the right. I want it to be even. And then let go and then click inside and choose Edit, Copy Visible. And what that does is it copies only what is in the selection area, not anything else from the book cover. So now that I have it on my clipboard, I'm going to come back here to the template and click on Control. Actually, I have to make a new layer here. So this is going to be back cover, okay? And then Control V. And there it is. In order to move it into place, I'm going to click on the Move tool, which is this square thing here. But first, this says floating selection. It's a pasted layer. So you have to come down here and click on this layer to kind of lay it down. And that makes it easier to move into place. So as you can see, because the size of the paperback and the hardcover are different, this has to be expanded. And then click on the resize tool, which is here, this one. I'm sorry, excuse me. Click on the scale tool and then click on the object, and then I'm holding down my control key and I can drag this into place. Okay. So anywhere there's a little white peeking through, I can adjust it. So it's fitting now in the white area of the template. That's what I want. And then click on Scale. And then to make sure you're out of the Scale tool, I always click on this tool for Move, or you can click M on the keyboard and that will switch you into the Move tool. And the same thing. I'm going to come over here and get this one. Now, normally in Gimp, you can just drag along the top here and drag a picture in. But when I am videoing, it doesn't work. So I have to copy visible, and then come back here and control, let me make a new layer, and then Control V, floating selection, anchor it, and then Control S is the keyboard for the scale tool. Okay, and I'm going to bring this up here, scale it. I clicked on M to go into the Move tool, and then I'm going to drag this over here. Okay. So if we just pulled in the cover from the paperback and kind of just stretched it into place, the problem area would be the spine. So in the spine, you have to have everything exact. And in the hardcover, the margins around the edges are longer. I guess they have to wrap more around the hardcover book cover. So this is the way I have done it, and I've never had a problem. Anywhere you see little white peeking out, I see some white peeking out here, so I'm going to click on Control S and then move in a little closer, and then holding down the shift, I can just drag this a tiny bit here to cover that up. Okay. All right, so now we have both of those. Now the next part I'm going to show you is how to, first I'm going to show you how to borrow the background, which is what I do in a book series. So let's do that now. Okay, this is about the gradient. I decided to do this part over because I thought of a way that I could explain it a lot easier. So I have pulled up in Gimp the last book in my series, which is this one, Mother's Instinct. And here is the book that we were working on in this course, Where is Lucia? So I'm going to be showing you how to create a gradient first. Now, gradients are created between the foreground color and the background color. They use both of them. So what I'm going to do is click on the foreground color, get the eyedropper, and go into the picture and get sort of a medium green. I'm choosing a medium green because I already know I want to use white font on the back, so it has to be dark enough that it's a contrast. Okay. And then with the same thing with the background color, I'm going to click, get the eyedropper, and go in and get a very dark section of the forest of trees. Okay, it's almost black. All right, so I have those two. Now, I'm going to come over here to the layer list and hide the gradient layer. And we're going to create the gradient from scratch. So I'm going to come over here to the tool, the gradient tool, and double click. And I'm going to double click because I want to open the toolbox over here. So the first thing I want to do is click inside the gradient and make sure that I choose the right one. So I want the color to go from the light and blend evenly into the bottom background color. So I'm going to choose this one here, foreground to background HSV, because that has a nice smooth blend. Okay. And then for the shape, I'm going to make sure that it is on linear. Now the gradient works from left to right and top to bottom. And what that means is that if I drag left to right, then the foreground color is going to start on the left and it's going to blend into the right. And if I start at the top, it's going to take the foreground color and blend to the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to click my mouse at the top and hold the shift key so that I can get a straight line. Why is this not working? Okay, it wasn't working because I have to create a layer for it. All right, so this is going to be the new gradient from scratch. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm on that layer. This is activated, so let me go back and try again. So I hold and drag. Okay. Take a minute, but it will fill in. Okay. Now this is a pretty good match. Okay. But I will say this. Every time you go into the picture, you're going to get a different color. I just happened to hit it right. But normally what happens is if you don't use the exact colors that you used when you designed the inside of this box, you're going to have two separate colors and you're going to be able to tell that this was plopped in on the back cover. That's why what I normally do, and what I did even with this one, is I borrow the gradient from the last book. And then this way, if all the books are lined up on a shelf, all of the covers will have exactly the same gradient because it will be exactly the same color. I won't have to rely on guessing well, which I did today. For some reason, I just, guessed pretty good today. All right, so let me show you how to borrow the gradient. So I'm going to put this one away, and then this one I'm going to make another layer here for the new gradient. Borrow. Okay. So this is the paperback cover from Mother's Instinct, which was the previous book, and I'm going to I'm going to hold down my shift and click on the new background gradient layer to isolate it. And then I'm going to click on, I'm going to right click on it and choose Edit, Copy Visible, and come back here, make sure I'm on the proper layer, and then click, actually I'm going to choose Control V to paste it. And then it says floating, so I have to click down here to anchor it. And so this way, that is the exact gradient that I used on all of the other book covers. So that is what I do when I go from book to book to book. So anyway, I hope that is helpful in terms of creating a gradient. And as you can see, it's a good way to marry the front to the back, especially if you're on a budget and you can only afford to get the ebook front made. This is a way that you can go on with your life, make a back cover until down the road you're making more money and you can hire an artist to do the whole thing. So anyway, now we'll go on to the next section. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to demonstrate how to create the title of the book in the spine and then also the author name in the spine. So we're going to use the text tool and then the rotate tool. So I'm going to choose the black and white for the colors, swap this out so the white is the foreground color because the white controls the text tool. Now, because the white from the cover, from my title, is not exactly pure white, I'm going to use the eyedropper so that I can match it to the font color on the front. Okay. And so now I'm going to click on the text tool. I'm going to come up towards the top here so that we can see it. And then down here, I'm going to click in. Let me see, before I start typing, let me just double click this so I see. I'm going to change the size to about 80. Okay. And let me type again. So this is going to be, where is Lucia? Question mark. Okay, and then I'm going to click on Control A to surround it all. And this is not nearly big enough, so let's try 150. Well, let's try 200. Now, I'm kind of eyeballing it because it has to fit from her mid forehead right here based on where I have it in the other books. And then I have to have enough room at the bottom to put my author name, which will be a little bit smaller than this. So I think I'm going to go with the 200 because that looks like it'll fit nicely in this little section here. All right, so in order to get out of the text tool, you click on this little crosshair here for the move tool, and that gets you out of the text tool. And here I can see the layer is at the top. Now I'm going to move this up just a little bit so we could see it. And then I'm going to click on Shift R, which is the rotate tool. And if you want to just click on it over here, here it is. All right, and then up here in the box, I'm going to type in 90 degrees because that's how I want to rotate it, and then click on rotate. And there you can see it rotated it perfectly. So now I'm going to click on the crosshair for the M, for the move tool, and then move this into place, making sure that it starts up here by, mid forehead area. Now, sometimes if you have, it will try to snap to these guides. And because I want this in the center of the guides, once I go in closer, then I will be, and hold down my shift, then I can move it, a minuscule amount, and I'll have more control over it. So let me just see here. There we go. And I can put it exactly in the middle. Perfect. All right. Now, let's see. I think that's a good size. I think that's a good size. All right, so now I'm going to do the author name smaller than that because I have to squeeze it into a smaller area. So let's click on the Let me just check the other cover here and make sure that it is. Okay, so it's all caps. Okay, so let's go back here. And I'm going to click again here. And R. Shannon. And then I'm going to use, let's see what 150. I think that's good. It's smaller, but yet, it's big enough to see. All right. And then in order to get out of the text tool, I'm going to click on the crosshairs, the move tool, and then go right into Shift R to rotate. Put in the 90 degrees. Okay. And then click on M to get out and move it. Whoops. I didn't get out. So let me click on here. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to move it into place. And what I use as my guide is the bottom of my name on the front cover. So let me go in closer so that I can move this in between these the two spines, the two guides here for the spine. There we go. All right. And that's it. And now it's complete. And you would never know that this was created in bits and pieces. So anyway, that's how you put in the title and the author name on the spine. Okay, this is the part where I'm going to show you how to save this as a PDF. All right, now as I'm looking at this, first of all, I have shut off the guides. Okay, I see a little tiny bit of the pink showing through from the template. So I'm going to isolate my gradient again, click on Control S, and just move this up a tiny bit to make sure that it doesn't show any of the template. All right, there we go. All right, now, so the first thing I'm going to do is export as, and let's see, this one is going to be hardcover JPG. Export. Okay, export. All right. And then I'm going to open recent and pull in that same JPG file. And then I'm going to export as a PDF. And then this way you'll have no trouble. I had a lot of trouble when I tried to go from XCF Gimp file directly to a PDF. Okay, so they might have solved the problem over the years, but this is just the way that I do it. So I just relay this to you just in case you have any problems. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you how to do is to change a 300 DPI picture to a 72 DPI picture. And it's actually 2 steps. So the first one is to come up to the image menu here and come down and click on Scale Image. All right, and this is going to open up the width and height and also the resolution. So I'm going to switch this from pixels mm to pixels inches, and you can see that it is just shy of 300 DPI. Okay, so I'm first going to change this to 72, and I want you to watch the numbers on top. Okay, they remain the same. So I'm going to hit scale. All right, and that has scaled down the DPI. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Come up to image, scale image. And now that it is set at 72 DPI, I'm going to change this to 800. And because this is locked here, it's going to switch this to what it needs to be to maintain the aspect ratio. Now I want you to watch the picture when I hit scale. And this is what actually reduces it. So you not only have to reduce the DPI, but you need to reduce the actual size of the image. And now it is ready to use on the website or on social media. It's in the proper web size. So here is the section where I'm going to teach you on how to work with artists on Fiverr. And I'll start by telling you what happened to me with this vampire series that I did. I had created a cover similar to this, but much more boring. In other words, I picked the picture of the cemetery in the background, and I found a picture of this handsome guy on depositphotos.com. And, I had a title. It was very boring. So I contacted someone on Fiverr and I said, look, I like the cover, but it needs to be jazzed up. I need it to look more like vampire-ish. And I sent him covers from, 5 to 10 books in the same genre. And so he gave me back this, the ebook cover, and charged me $50 for the, jazzing it up, which I thought was fair because I was very happy with it. Very, very happy with it. I think he did a great job. So anyway, I used the book cover and the book did a little bit better. But then when I went back to try to get him to do the paperback and the hardcover, those prices started at $250. So what I wound up doing was just like I showed you earlier in this video series, I took the ebook cover and I created my own back. Okay, that's the predicament that I was in. But as you can see, it turned out fine. It was fine. I was very happy with it. So that's the first part of this story. So my tip is if you are going to work with someone on Fiverr, make sure that you either know that you can operate with only an ebook cover, which now you can, or try to make a deal for the paperback at least so that you get a front and a back because you have more negotiation power in the beginning of the deal. When you come back and you want something to match it, the guy knows I don't have this font. The guy knows I don't know how to do any of this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have needed him in the first place. So that's my first tip. What I wound up doing with the other books in this series was I paid the $50 to get the ebook copy done, and he did all of them very well. And then I had to make the full covers, which I had no problem with, like I said. That's the first part of the Darius and the Newport Vampire Stories story. So let me go in and tell you the rest of the story. Okay, so I used those covers I just showed you for a while, and the books started to sell better because they fit better in the genre. However, now, like other new authors, I was told over and over again by many people publishing way longer than I was that it is important to make your book cover similar to those that are in the same genre. And so the original book cover that I made was too boring. The one that he did for me was great, and it did fit better into the genre. But after a while, what I found was that my book was not really the type of book that people were expecting who were looking for Twilight-like books or Anne Rice-like books. The inspiration for this book comes from Dark Shadows TV series from back in the 70s. Okay, so it is more like a vampire saga, a soap opera, and it's a little bit tongue in cheek. So I think when people picked up the book, it wasn't properly placed. Okay. And so even though the other cover was great, it looked very vampire-y, it was not giving the right impression to people. So what I did was using Leonardo AI, I created these more mythical fairy tale type characters, and I redid and rebranded the series. And so this one, as you look at it, I think it shows that it's more of a romance. It's a little bit more playful rather than the other one was a little bit too, it looked too serious, I guess. So anyway, My other tip is that when you deal with anybody on Fiverr, it is very important for you to choose the font and choose any type of scroll work or decorative items that you are going to use, because if you have one cover done, and especially if you are writing in a series, they are going to have you over a barrel, because just like I was originally, you're not going to be able to find the exact fonts. You may or may not be able to find whatever little other trinkets that they use. So, and then if you approach another artist, they're going to know that you are in a jam. And that's not how you get the best prices. So that's my tip, is look at the other competition, the books, and decide kind of how you want the book to look, so that when you're working with an artist, you're not left so vulnerable that if he or she just stops doing that type of work, or their prices double or quadruple, that you're not stuck now not knowing how you're going to get out of this jam. So that is my final tip for you. So anyway, this video turned out to be way longer than I ever intended. I thought this was going to be a quick video series, but I guess there was more information that I needed to relay, especially if people who are watching are beginners, so it went a little bit long. So if there's anybody even still listening to me, I really appreciate it. And if you learned anything or you enjoyed the video at all, I would appreciate it if you could give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in the next video.